Hi guys, and welcome back. This is the last lesson for Unit 2, and this last lesson is all about dilations. So we've talked so far about translations, which are a slide. We've talked about reflections, which are flips, and we've talked about rotations, which are turns. In this lesson, we'll talk about dilations, and a dilation is just a stretch or a shrink by a scale factor. So since your figure is going to get bigger or smaller, that means that it is not an isometry. So remember we talked with reflections about isometry and the image and the pre-image being congruent. So since a dilation makes the figure bigger or smaller, it's not an isometry because the image is not congruent to the pre-image. And the key piece here is this scale factor is usually called K. And so that's the amount that the figure is getting bigger or getting smaller. And so when K is between 0 and 1, then the dilation is a shrink. So it's going to get smaller. If K is bigger than 1, then the dilation will be an enlargement or a stretch. So it's going to get bigger. And dilations happen in everyday life. If you think about taking a picture of something, the photo is a dilation of the actual thing because it's going to be smaller. It shrinks it by a scale factor. And so dilations are very important, and we'll talk more about them in the next unit as well when we get into similar figures. So your mapping rule is just this d sub k, so the k being your scale factor. And it just says that the point xy will map to kx, ky. So all you're going to do is take your scale factor and multiply it by both x and y. And that will give you your dilation about the origin. So in example 1, we see that the dashed triangle is a dilation image of the solid triangle. So that means we went from the solid to the dashed. What is the scale factor? So to do that, the first thing you need to do is get all of your points for your triangle. So we see the first point is at -4, 4. The next point is at 4, 4. And the third point is at 8, -4. And we can see that this goes to here, so that's at -2, 2. This one goes to here, which is at 2, 2. And this one goes to here, which is at 4, -2. The scale factor has to be the same. So all you're going to do is do the image divided by the pre-image. So wherever you end up divided by where you started. You can see that the solid triangle is bigger than the dashed triangle, so it's getting smaller. So we do -2 divided by -4 and simplify to be 1/2. Then just check to make sure it worked for all the rest of the points. Is half of 4 2? Yes. Is half of 4 2? Yes. Is half of 8 4? Yes. Half of -4 -2? Yes. So you see that it worked for all of them. You try and do B and then check your work. So you can see the points start where they started. I went from the dark green to the light green. I did my image divided by pre-image and found that -2 over -6 is equal to 1/3. Always make sure to think back and think, does the scale factor make sense? Did my figure actually get smaller or did my figure actually get bigger? And that will help you to know. And then remembering back to our original piece where we said if a k is between 0 and 1, it should get smaller. If k is bigger than 1, then it should get larger. Going down to example 2, they tell us that a dilation has a center 0, 0. Find the image of each point for the scale factor given. So they're telling you you're starting at the point 2, -5, and with a scale factor of 2. All that means you're going to do is d prime will be 2 times 2 and 2 times -5. So you're going to multiply both the x and the y by 2. So d prime will be 4, -10. It works the same even if it is a decimal. So you can see that A prime will be 1.5 times negative 6 and 1.5 times negative 2. So A prime will be the point -9, -3. You try and do C and D on your own. Checking your points, you should have gotten that T prime is at 0.18 and C prime is at -0.4 and -0.7. So just remembering to multiply by your scale factor to both the x and the y. And remembering that that scale factor is always the same for every point in the figure. Looking at example 3, they tell us that WXY is dilated by a scale factor of 2/3. Then they give us the points, WX and Y. They want us to find X prime. So that means we're just going to look at X. And we're just going to multiply both 6 and 2 by 2/3. So X prime will happen at the point 2/3 times 6 and 2/3 times 2. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators, divide by the denominators. So 2 times 6 is 12, divided by 3 is 4. And 2 times 2 is 4, divided by 3 is just 4/3. Your points don't always have to be at whole numbers. You try and do example 4 and then check back. In example 4, they gave you the vertices of triangle ABC, and then they told you the rule XY was going to map to 2x, 2y. So since there is a 2 in the front of x and y, that means that your scale factor is 2. So that meant you just needed to multiply all of your points by 2 to get your new points. So you can see where I got my answers. We'll go over the rest of these notes tomorrow in class and then begin reviewing our transformations before our test coming up on Friday. See you tomorrow.